Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 5 of my Python tutorials. We're going to look at the if statement in this video and how it can test for certain conditions in our code. Also, we'll look at how to test for multiple conditions with the ELIF statement. We'll write a little game to bring these concepts together. We'll also look at lists with the if statement and explore list comprehension. And finally, we'll throw in some Boolean logic just for good measure. The if statement is a test. If this, then that. It tests to see if something is true or false, with the subsequent commands being executed based on the result. It's the core of programming logic. In the last lesson, we looked at a list of our favorite games. We had 5 games in our list and were able to print each item within the list with the for statement. But what if we wanted to test for a certain condition before printing? We could do that by typing the following statement. If game equal to Minecraft, then print yes, you have that game on your list. Also note the 2 equal signs here. If you use 1 equal sign, that means you are assigning the variable game to Minecraft. With the 2 equal signs, you are testing to see if the item in the game variable is equal to the string Minecraft. If we run this, we should get one line that says, yes, you have Minecraft in your list. You also want to note that this is case sensitive. So if you type a lowercase Minecraft, you won't get a result. One way around this with a string comparison is to change the case of both the variable and the test. So when you run it now, you get, yes, you have the game. This lowercase method makes the game variable lowercase and makes the test condition lowercase. So regardless of what way they were originally, this will be a match if the characters are the same. You can also test for exclusions in your list by using the not equal to operator. This is achieved using the exclamation point followed by the equal sign. Now you're testing to see if Minecraft is not in the list. This means in this case you should get 4 statements here because there are 5 items in the list and 4 are not Minecraft. You can also do a lot of things with integers and the if statement. This code will loop through the numbers in myInt for num equal to myInt, and if the number is equal to 3, we'll multiply it by 10 and then print each number. Now note where the print statement is in this block of code. If you put the print statement under here, it will only print if the number is equal to 3. But because I moved it under the original for statement, it will print all the numbers, even the ones that were multiplied by 3. This is why indentation is so important. The location of the statements within the block of code can make all the difference. As you can see, only the numbers not equal to 3 were multiplied by 10. We can use the ELIF, which is short for else if, and the else statement when you need to check for multiple conditions. So for example, if we use it with our integer list, like shown here, here we have if number equals to 3 multiplied by 10, if equal to 4 multiplied by 100, multiply everything else by 1,000. So if there are no matches, we're going to multiply that number by 1,000. So let's run this, and as you can see, the numbers that equal to 3 are multiplied by 10, the number equal to 4 for the ELIF statement are multiplied by 100, and the rest are multiplied by 1,000. You'll find that evaluating multiple conditions in Python like this is very common. So now I have a little game here to show us how to test for multiple conditions and to show us some of the pitfalls we can encounter. The game is very simple. It asks the user to guess a number between 1 and 20. Our secret number is 7. So based on how close they are to our number, we provide the user with feedback. So for example, if they guess the number, we congratulate them and tell them they're awesome. If they get within 5 numbers of our number, we tell them they're getting warm. And if they're outside of that close range, we tell them they're not even close. It's tempting to do this with multiple if statements like shown here. However, this program is obviously flawed, and you might see where the flaw is. But let's run it and see what happens. So if we pick the number, say we pick 5, that's close to 7, so we get feedback saying it's getting warm. Then let's pick 17, for example, and that's outside of the close range, and the user is informed that they're not even close. All that looks well so far, but the problem happens when we pick 7, the correct number. We enter 7, we get 2 responses, because A, it is the right number, and B, it's also close to the right number, so it's warm. The reason for this error in the logic is because having multiple if statements means that all of them are tested. So in this case, the 7 is tested here and is validated as the correct number, but it's also tested here and is validated again because it's within the close range. The last line is also tested, but it is false because it is outside the range. We can fix this easily with the ELIF statement. I've substituted the ELIF or else if statement for the second 2 ifs. Now what happens is this gets evaluated, and if it's true, these will not trigger. Same here, if the second one gets evaluated and it's true, the next one will not trigger. So for the else if or ELIF, it's saying that if it's not matched previously, then we'll execute it here. This should make the difference, and let's put in our 7 and verify. Now when we type in 7, which is the correct answer, we get 1 answer, so now that's fixed. The game is a good example of when you should use the ELIF statement. A lot of people also like to use the else statement at the end as a catch-all statement. We could put else here in case the number is greater than 20, for example. Now you can see that the else statement prints that number is out of range. So if none of these executes, then that means that the number must be outside of the range of 1 and 20. We'll try it. We'll put 60 in here, which is clearly out of range. We'll hit enter, and we can see that the number correctly goes through the first 3 tests and lands on the catch-all, the else statement. So it's a simple little program, but there is quite a bit in here. The if, else, and ELIF are pretty straightforward overall. Some programmers do not like to use the else statement at the end. They would prefer to use an explicit ELIF statement. So for example, in our case, the last ELIF would simply state that the number is greater than 20, it's out of range. This is easier to read in their opinion, but a matter of preference, I assume. The other thing that we have here is Boolean operators, greater than, less than, equal to. It's key to remember that when you use these operators together, they follow a similar order of operations from our basic math we learned in middle school. Sometimes, as in this case, it's better to put certain operators in parentheses so they are executed in the correct order and you don't get anything weird in your program. Boolean is easy but can be tricky, so make sure that you test your condition very well to make sure that you are getting the desired result. Going back to lists and the if statement, we can also search in a list with the if statement, and if the condition is met, then we'll do something. A good example would be if we take our list of games. We could search to see if Roblox is in the list. If not, then we could append it. If we run this, we should see 6 items in our list, and we do. Roblox has been added. This is very useful and a very common task in coding. And it brings us to our final topic, which is list comprehension. List comprehension can be a better way of creating lists while making your code more readable at the same time. It's easier to show list comprehension than it is to explain it. So let's say, for example, we have our integer list that we used earlier, and we want to multiply everything by 10 and save that to another list. We would create mylist1 and declare it as a list. Then we would run this script, which would search each item in the original list, multiply it by 10, and then add it to the new list. However, this is a very cumbersome way of doing this. List comprehension allows us to write this code in one line. Here we have the same code, but it only takes up one line. It is not even necessary in this scenario to declare the new list. Previously, there were 3 lines of code to accomplish this task, but instead you simply type myint1 equal to x multiplied by 10 for x in int. This runs through the original integer list, multiplies everything by 10, and saves it to the new list. In addition to this list comprehension being smaller from a code standpoint, it's also easier to read. There's a little bit of a learning curve to list comprehension, but it's worth it in my opinion. Now, it's not necessary to use it right now in your stage of learning, but be aware of it so you can read other people's code. So, we just covered the basics of the if statement and how to use it effectively with lists. The if statement should give you way more control over your programming going forward. If you want to use any of the code from this lesson, head over to my GitHub repository shown below. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about Python dictionaries. I'll see you then.